Did you know? Yeah. Welcome once again to the BIZ. This is your main man, your host, Normbeezy, in the house with Lady T. We have some special guests today. We want to welcome everybody in to the special podcast today. We have Miss Audra Thomas.
You got your...
Got to hit the door quickly, right? All right. We also have Miss Faith Fountain. All right, and both of them are from the Ashland for Change, and we want to welcome them today to talk about the movement that they are a part of in the country. But before we get into all that, man, we just want to give a shout out to our sponsors: Positive People Association, Stardust Theater Troupe, Fairfield West Improvement Council. We also want to give a shout out to the West Virginia Ray of Hope. We want to give a shout out to Second Coming Family Life Church, Glorious Church of God in Christ. We want to give a shout out to all our local supporters that have supported the Stardust Theater Troupe program. We appreciate you very, 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 very much. All right. So before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about Ashland for Change. And either one of you, Faith, Audra, you want to take and tell us a little bit about the Ashland for Change?
Ashland for Change, it started with just people trying to organize a march, and it kind of backed off as far as like the group goes. It kind of started with different people trying to get together with the community because of everything that was happening in the world with George Floyd, and so we tried to start that, and
it was basically a group that approached some Black and brown members of the Ashland community, and they were concerned that the people who were already leading protests weren't consulting people of color at all, and that our voices weren't being heard. So there was an initial meeting at a local church. People were invited to just speak about their experiences with racism in Ashland, and everybody spoke up and said how they felt, and we kind of took it from there. We're not the only organization who was at that meeting, but after that, we started having our own planning meetings and whatnot, and basically we just want to provide a platform for marginalized voices and provide that education to the community of Ashland when it comes to inequality, racism, and other discrimination against minorities.
Well, let's give it up for that organization right there.
Thank you.
Ashland for Change. But before we get into a lot of things, let's talk about yourselves a little bit. Let's introduce our guest, Lady T. You think we can do that?
I think so. Faith, you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Faith Fountain. I'm from Ashland, Kentucky. I'm known as Miss Ashland. I won that title at Miss Kentucky, United States, and I was crowned Miss Congeniality. So I went and represented Ashland. I am currently going to school for my second master's in addiction. I just graduated from University of the Cumberlands for my mental health degree, and I have a son. He's 5 years old. I'm a single mom, and I'm just very active in my community, and I just look forward to making a difference.
Yeah, let's give it up for Faith, man. That's real big stuff.
Thanks.
All right, Miss Audra.
I am Audra Thomas. I'm from Ashland, born and raised. I moved from Ashland to Lexington in 2007 to go to UK. And I got my degree there, and I've been working there ever since. But due to the pandemic, I came back to Ashland to help my family out. Some of them are high risk. And basically, since then, I've just been working from home. I'm a marketer at a engineering firm, and it's decent work. You know, I make a good living, but by working with Ashland for Change, I've kind of figured out where my passion lies, and I found my voice. So hopefully looking for a career change sometime soon, but That's me in a nutshell. No kids. Not yet, but I love them.
Well, let's make sure we give it up for Audra, too. You know what I'm saying? Sound like a lot of black girl magic sitting at this table over there. I don't know what's going on. But so things have been happening. Like today, on today's topic on the biz, guys, we're going to actually talking about the marches and the organization of the protests happening with the George Floyd incident. We also want to make sure that we're going to get into some things as far as like talking about the definition of systemic racism and white privilege and does it exist and how we feel about that whole ordeal. But right now, has anybody seen Beyonce's Black is King musical, I guess, film?
I've seen the majority of it, yes.
All right, let's talk about how we feel about it.
I think it's beautiful. Like I said before, I think it's an ode to Africa. It's an ode to our ancestry and our roots. I think a lot of us aren't used to seeing Africa in the sense of royalty, and a lot of Black art doesn't always necessarily reflect positivity. It's typically, a reflection of struggle and poverty, and which is fine because that's an accurate story. But I think it's refreshing to see a Black story told in this way, in a positive light.
Okay. That's right on that right there. So, you seen it though?
I have seen it, and I think I need to watch it again. It is beautiful. I mean, what she does is true artistry. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm not a big Beyonce fan, so I think that is why
A little biased
to it. So I think that I need to sit down and watch it again, but kudos to her for doing it.
Tell us the fun facts you know about the...
Oh, the fun facts. Okay, fun facts. She changed 63 times. Blue Ivy appears 8 times. Her mom was a last-minute addition. She wasn't even supposed to be in the film, the video. She just kind of popped up, and she was like, Mama, you got to be in there. And it's a tribute to her son and a tribute to Lion King. Now, she did film it. It's based in Africa, but some was in her backyard, some was in London. I think they were in Belgium, and they were in Africa. So those are just some fun facts about the video.
About the video, that's what's up. I have my take on it too, my spin on it. I, as an artist, as a thespian, as a theater artist, I looked at her perform. It was a performance piece, but you're right. It did. I guess she was the Lion King. It was based off like the Lion King theme. So I think she tried to dive into our roots. Looking at this picture here and bring out a lot of pulled up with. Some of it was kind of spiritual. Where she got the horns on, you know what I'm saying? Some circle piece, and a lot of people was criticizing that. And I don't want to get into a lot of what. I'll let you read about it, research it, to see what people were talking about as far as. Was it what Illuminati symbolism and all this stuff was going
satanic
on,
and stuff like
and
that.
Satanic. So I mean, and it's just the critics. If you read about it, you're gonna have people say good things about it, and then you're gonna have people that have their opinion about that, and all and all. But other than that, let's go ahead and move forward a little bit here. Let's talk about some of the things we want to talk about. Also, the George Floyd the police body cams was released. Have anyone seen this? And then, because that's what we're here to really talk about as far as organizing, the protest came out of the George Floyd murder.
Right.
And so the whole country was fed up with police brutality and the injustices of Black men and women being unarmed, being murdered by police.
Right.
But so the police body cam came out, and has anyone seen it? And let's talk about it a little bit.
I personally haven't seen it. I'm torn about whether or not I want to watch that again, because I think it's very traumatic and triggering for some people, and we just continue to see our people murdered in the streets over and over again. But I did speak with a local officer, a local Black officer that watched the footage. He didn't see all of it, but he watched some of it, and he was just telling me that it was completely out of hand, and it could have been the situation could have been diffused a lot more easier, and you're not trained to do the stuff they were doing.
I had a hard time watching it, and I can say I didn't watch it until today. We watched it, and it was heartbreaking. I mean, he's pleading for his life from the beginning. You know, I'm not a bad person. I didn't do it. What did I do? And this is all over a $20 bill. You know, they have him get out of the car. He's saying, I'm claustrophobic. I can't breathe. I'm going to die here. I'm going to die here, you know. And then they get him at one point, they get him in the car, and another officer drags him out the other side of the door. You know, he was already in the car, even though he was screaming, you know, they were saying, we'll roll the windows down, we'll roll the windows down. He was saying, I'm claustrophobic. I know I'm going to die. They drag him out. They put him on the ground. There was no excuse for putting a knee on this man. He wasn't resisting.
Right.
I mean, there was no reason. It could have definitely been handled differently, and it was a senseless death.
Faith, have you seen?
I haven't seen it, the video, but I did see like what happened. And when I think about it, I think about me being a bystander to it. You know, what could have done, or besides get my phone out and record it? What could I've done to help this man? And you know, that instills fear. Here lately, we've all had and experienced fear with a lot of things, and I don't think that it had created a sense of, you know, safety. When you're a bystander and you're looking at this, you're like, oh shit, you know, this is really, really happening. And, you know, it scares a lot of people, and it makes you just want to, you know, what could you have done? You know?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, well, I would have done this, I would have done that. But when you're really there in that situation, when a police has a gun to your head and they're supposed to be the people of safety for you, what would you have done?
Yeah, you freeze up.
You know?
That is the video. When I first seen it and it came out, it was like one cam video was like 16 minutes from one, or 10 minutes from one of the officers, and the other one showed like 17 minutes of the whole incident that happened. And it was like, okay, you walked up on him with your guns drawn over a car, $20.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like Leah said, as you're watching the video, and he's saying he's claustrophobic. It takes him a minute to get into the car. They like get in the car. He's like, I'm claustrophobic. You know what I'm saying? He's and at this point he's handcuffed. So it's not like he's got his hands free. So there's no fear factor of him striking you in any form of fashion.
It's
you
a
know what I'm
power
saying?
trip.
You know what I'm saying? So they, you know, and he's sitting there, and the cop said, I'll roll the window down, just get in the car. And he's like, okay, just give me a minute. And he is pleading. I'm not a bad person. What did I do? Just let me go. I didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? What's wrong? I'm gonna die. And he says it before. I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna die here. He gets in the car. They get him in the car, and there's the body cam switch. You do see the other officer that already opened the door on the right side. He opens the back door. As George is getting in the door on the left side, he's in the car. Shut the door. If you're on that side, that's what I'm thinking. The cop should have shut the door. He grabs George Floyd, and he pulls him through the other side. And then this is where we start to get the incident of him getting put on the ground or whatnot. But, and like you said, Aurora, Audra, I said Aurora, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Like you said, you
were
know,
thinking ahead.
it could have been handled a little differently, right, on that. So you're right. And as you was mentioned, thinking ahead, because that brings up another incident that we want to reflect into real quick too. We'll talk briefly about the Aurora, Colorado police. They were on they were looking for a vehicle, a motorcycle.
Yeah, it wasn't no vehicle.
They were looking for a motorcycle. So the license plate tag number matched the number to this other vehicle, to a van, but it was different states. The police pulled a van over. Inside the van, we have 4
Underage.
girls, 17, 14, 12, and 6. And they make them get out the car. They put them on the blacktop, hot asphalt in a parking lot for 2 minutes, handcuff 2 of the girls for 2 minutes, and they eventually don't even let them get up. They just make them roll over, and they're allowed to sit up. But at this point, one of the girls in the car said they never asked her for registration or her ID. So the Colorado police is just saying, yeah, we made a mistake. But how do you pull over a van looking for a motorcycle? And then what made you make these girls get out of a vehicle, get out the vehicle? What threat did they pose to? And if you look here in this picture, these cops are not small cops. So I don't know what you was threatening or scared of, but if y'all seen that, let me let y'all get in on that.
Yeah, I did see some of it, but I didn't realize it was in Colorado. And like you said, I didn't realize it was the same area as Elijah McClain. But I mean, you pretty much said it all. I just don't understand. I can't comprehend. I don't grasp the concept. It's not in me to see the threat that these 4 girls presented to these officers that made this traffic stop go this way, aside from some numbers that matched. But like you said, it's a different state. It's a different type of vehicle. Like, what? These people don't need to work in this field if they're going to be scared of little girls. I mean, I'm trying to be eloquent here, but
Nah,
it just
speak your
doesn't-
mind. Come on.
it just doesn't
don't
make
hold
sense to
nothing
me. And I was talking to Faith on the way up here. You know, there's the argument of defunding the police, and then sometimes, you know, I feel like I'm supportive of that, and then other times they obviously need some new training, some new programs,
Most
something
definitely.
going on. I don't know if they need more money for that, or if they need to go to different trainers, or what, but something needs to happen. That's 4 little girls.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and
all underage.
why do you need, how many cops is it? 4 cops? I mean,
Yeah, it was like 6
yeah.
by the end of the.
And the
that's
first thing you're supposed to
unbelievable.
do is ask for identification and vehicle registration and insurance, correct? And they didn't ask for anything. And they felt like we need to take this little girl out of the car, which typically
Right.
wouldn't she be inside the car with the officer and
A 12-year-old.
Man,
16?
what hurts? Yeah, I was say what
with
hurts me is
handcuffs.
the 6-year-old
Look
little
at her.
girl.
It was
Right.
her birthday.
This-
Yeah.
They were on a girls' day out. They were going for a spa day for a girls' day, and they get pulled over. And how do you mistake a motorcycle for a van? I'm sorry, or an SUV? I don't get that part. They're underage. Why didn't you call their parents? Like, why? How do you pull underage girls
It's over.
and put them down on the hot asphalt with their face down, and to watch the video and hear them screaming and crying and pleading for their lives because they're scared? And one of the girls says, "Can I just get up and hug my sister?" I mean, as a mother, I'm like in tears. So I can imagine what their parents feel like.
Right. And that little girl is going to have that memory on her birthday every day for the rest of her life.
And they wonder why they're scared of police. I mean, that's traumatizing.
Say that again. Well, you know, we here today to speak with these ladies, Ashland for Change organization. And you can get into a little bit more. They organized a march for the protest for the George Floyd incident, pretty much, and to inequality and police brutality. So we want to know, and our audience want to know. We got a little audience today, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And they may speak if they got some questions. I don't mind. Y'all don't mind if the audience chimes in if they got anything to say or anything. Okay,
ahead.
great. But we want to know, you know, why and what for did you organize, and did you feel the need? Let me not ask too many questions at one time. But at the same time, go ahead and just speak about why and what for did you feel the need to organize this event, or not to say an event, but yeah.
For me personally, justice has always been in me. You know, seeking justice and equality for all has always been within me. Like, even in 4th grade, I can remember we had a Martin Luther King essay contest, and that was what I wrote about, you know, equal, and how there need to be different rules set in place at schools and whatnot, because of some racism my brother was experiencing in high school. He's about 8 years older than me. So I've always been aware, and I've always been conscious, and I've always, you know, voted since I was able to, and been part of like the NAACP student organization at UK and other things.
No, that's big. That's big. Well, y'all understand that.
I just want to carry around that button.
But the George Floyd, I want to say, watching that video, and then maybe a week later, Trump saying if they loot, we shoot. That was the first time I actually had like a emotional reaction, like I just started crying out of nowhere and couldn't stop crying. So that the group approached us, and they said there's another march going on. We feel like the community isn't being represented, and we don't want to just march. We'll have the march for the awareness, but after that, we need to bring change. So that's where Ashland for Change came from. And, we had our march, we had speakers. And part of the reason why we had speakers and informational booths is because, we've been marching for years, and that's great. And, it releases a lot of frustration. It releases a lot of tension. It makes a statement, but we want action. We want change. So by having those speakers, pour their hearts out to Ashland and say, this is the way it is. Here's how we're helping in Louisville. We had a representative, Attica Scott. She represents Louisville, Kentucky. That's the home of Breonna Taylor. She was talking about different things. We had a local pastor speak on, love and equality. Just we wanted different people to deliver their message, to see there's more to it than marching in the streets. There's things that can happen in the future, and we want to be a part of that. We want to bring change to the community of Ashland, because there might not be too much overt racism, but we know we know what it is. There's been incidents in my past. Like I said, I was born and raised there. My cousin, this is in Ironton, but most of his family is in Ashland, and he was a friend of the Ashland community, was drug 10 city blocks over in Ironton under a police car. Guy Thomas, yep. Yeah. Audra Thomas. So, like I said, it's always been on my heart, and these things happen in our area, whether people want to turn a blind eye to it or not. They happen every day. It might not be someone under a cop car, but it might be a kid, a young girl that spoke up at New Hope and said, my friends want to call me the N-word. They want me to give them an N-word pass.
Right.
Wow.
And then for me and a few other girls in the group, we're biracial, so they put us in the system as white.
Is this 2000 and what?
2020?
Right. We're biracial, so automatically in the system, we all have white moms. They put us in as white, and we almost missed, all the scholarship opportunities and stuff like that. So
the school did that?
Yes. Well, I know my mom didn't. I know my mom didn't mark me down as white. But yeah, and it was weird because we all graduated at different times, and we all three had the same issue. Wow. So, we got it remedied, and, we were able to get access to the scholarships and whatnot, but stuff like that people don't think about. They think that's not racist, that's an oversight. No, that's deliberate.
It is.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of microaggressions too that happen, and people don't see that as anything. They want to say, for me, it's, where are you from? And then it's, oh, no, I meant like, where are you born? And I'm like, no, I just told you where I was from. And then they're like, oh, so that's where you're from. That's what I meant, and it's like, what? Okay. What do you say,
Yeah. So, we had our march, and, since then we've organized a book club. We're reading The Color of Law right now. We are working on a panel where we're going to have, basically it's like a seat at the table where you can have people who may not be well versed with minorities, may not be exposed to different cultures, and kind of provide like a safe environment to sit down and have a conversation. I don't know if you all have seen the Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. That it's series really on YouTube. It's from a former NFL player. I believe he's an analyst now, Emmanuel Acho. I'm sorry if I get his name wrong, but we want to create environments like that. Like we're not gonna protect these people by any means, but we also know that there are some people who truly just haven't been around any Black people.
Right.
They're afraid to even call you Black.
Right.
Right.
Black, African American, Afro American, colored people.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not just Black folks either. We have a Latino presence, and they're severely unrepresented for other reasons. But it's just one of those things where we want to get active and bring these issues to light, and then the process for the change can start?
I would say for me, for my experience too, is that's actually how I even met Audra. A lot of people were contacting me because of the George Floyd thing, and me being a well-known person in the community. They're like, Faith, what can we do? How can we help? What can we do? And I'm like, I don't know. Where do you start, with things like that? Because you do have those people who don't want change.
Now, when you say those people, we talking about white people?
We talking about all kinds of people.
Okay, I'm just
all
saying,
kinds of people.
Because I know after that George Floyd, a lot of Caucasian American, white Americans was reaching out to Black Americans, African Americans, asking,
how can we help?
What can we do? How can we help?
And I feel like, it's a variety of different, I wouldn't say like far as color, but different types of people. Like the city wants to know how to help, churches want to know how to help. It's not so much as race, if I can say that, but people want to know how they can help. And it was funny because, racism doesn't happen in Ashland. It doesn't happen, but people want to know how to help with the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What do you mean it's not happening?
Yeah. They want to know how to help with the problem, but they think that
they think racism is a bad word.
Yeah.
Wow. that doesn't exist.
Yeah. And so, there's a couple of times that, I've experienced microaggression, but I've also, experienced real hardcore racism. And when you're right there and you experience that, like, it's like, did this just happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
And you think about it like, this is really, really happening. I can't believe this stuff is happening. And then you're like looking at other people and it's like, are y'all going to say something? Are y'all going to do something? But people are just watching, and, you don't want to be the type of person, especially like me as a Black woman, I don't want to be the type of person that be like, oh, that's just a typical Black woman going off. She got her attitude, angry man.
And that's the thing. We have to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. We have to think about that. If we stand up for ourselves and speak up, we got a label put on us.
Right.
And then that you guys, because you guys kind of answered some of the questions that we were getting into. Like,
Sorry.
No. You know what I'm saying? Which is great, because it's like, when you organized the march, and our next thing was really to get together, what did you expect to happen after that march? And was there a plan ahead? Like, okay, we're going to join the protest with the people in March, and that's going to bring up almost another little side question we talked about. Me and Leah talked about, do you consider yourself part of the Black Lives movement? How do you feel about the Black Lives movement? Do Black Lives matter? All this situation, because we know that sometimes the protests got out of hand as far as, they didn't say get out of hand, because you can't say what other people are feeling and how they want to protest, you know what I'm saying? So
when they try to organize stuff, a lot of people are all about talk. Like, a lot of people say, let's do this, let's do that, but they never do the follow-up process. So after the march, we got meetings established. We met and we were like, okay, we didn't just let it like fall off. We kept up with it, and anybody, like the people that organized the march, were the people that we contacted and said, let's do this. Like, what do you guys want to change? What do you guys want to see different here in Ashland? And I think that's what like kept us going and kept like our group going, is because we all within the group, yes, we want to see change, but there's different types of changes that we want to see, like within the group, if that makes any sense.
Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But
that's all right.
we have a lot of things, we have a lot of ideas, and we have a lot of things in the works, but due to COVID-19, we can't do a lot of stuff we want to do. Everything has to be virtual, it has to be delayed. So a few of the things that we're working on, because we just started in June,
right,
and we have a long way to go. But we heard from the community that education is a big factor. So one of the things that we're going to try to do education wise is we want to have a Juneteenth celebration in Ashland. We want to bring out the community and say, this is what we're celebrating, but we want everybody to come, no matter what you look like, no matter what you identify as, white, black, Asian, gay, straight, Christian, it doesn't matter. We want you to come out, have a good time, and learn something. And once people realize that we're not as different as everyone thinks we are, we're all human beings at the end of the day, but you will respect my culture.
Oh, yeah.
You will respect my culture. But once they learn about the culture, they'll see, like,
Right.
instead of appropriating it, appreciate it. We have a few other things we want to do. We have a few other things we want to do. But as far as Black Lives Matter, Black lives do matter. And I think a lot of people forgot Black Lives Matter started off as like a war cry. It hasn't always been an organization. It hasn't always been a movement. And people have mixed feelings about the organization, and I understand why they do. But for us, it's more of the war cry. We say Black Lives Matter. We support Black lives. We're working on behalf of Black lives as well as, other marginalized people. But yeah, Ashland for Change stands for Black Lives Matter, the war cry. As far as the organization, like, we haven't, done any donating or anything like that. But
we're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're still growing.
We're doing our research because, sometimes you donate and then a couple months down the road, you realize, what your money's really going to or who's behind it. You never know. So we have to do our research. But yeah, we're getting more familiar. Well, I am. I won't speak on behalf of the group. I am getting more familiar with the organization, and me personally, the war cry, I'll say it all day, Black Lives Matter.
All right.
I have to ask, though, that kind of is a segue. How do you all feel, or how do you respond when someone says, okay, Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter? Because you hear that.
I think you just have to be that's the thing too, is that a lot of people can, like me, like, I cannot get mad because people are uneducated. I have to be approachable in the sense that, okay, I'm not assuming that people are uneducated, but I have to be approachable in the sense that, okay, maybe you just don't know, or you just, and then when you explain it to them, some people just won't get it, and to me, it's not an argument. Black Lives Matter. It's not an argument, period. Right. So I'm going to explain it to you from what I think, because I'm approachable. You ask me, this is what I think. You have your opinion. Okay, cool. But still, Black Lives Matter.
Right. And I had I have a t-shirt that I should have worn today, and it says, all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. And then you have the names of victims on the back. But that's my argument. It's plain as that. All lives matter. All lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. A Black life is a life.
So let's think when somebody says, well, Black people kill Black people all the time.
White people kill white people. Hispanic people kill Hispanic people. That's called intracommunal violence. The violence occurs within your community and who you live with and who you live by. And a lot of times communities are segregated. So yeah, Black people do kill Black people, but everybody else within certain communities, they're popping off against each other too. It's not just Black people.
Right.
That response to that, and saying that, you wanted to talk about the systemic racism and the term systemic racism and the term white privilege. Does it exist? I've had people say that white or Caucasian Americans, if we're going to be politically correct, say they don't understand when we say white privilege. Like, what is white privilege?
To me, and when I think that the reason why that they don't understand, white people don't understand what white privilege is because they say, oh, well, I was raised poor. I lived in the projects. I lived that, whatever they try to relate to us in that sense. But it's moreover as people probably use this example all the time. I could go be in a police car with my white friend, and I mean, not a police car, my car with my white friend, and I be the one pulled over or get out the car versus my white friend. Or we could have the same charge, but I get more sentence than my white friend. Like, that's white privilege. Like, you're more likely, a white person is more likely to get off of the charge, or I don't know the word for it, but to get off the hook. That's what I'm trying to say. Trying to get off the hook for something that we both did at the same time, or the same crime.
Yes, it's to me, like I keep saying, a lot of things plain as day and things simple, but I'm like Faith. I want to help educate, and I think I'm approachable, but that's something I have to work on, because I'm not as patient, and I've gotten better over the years. But you know, I don't try to be combative, but it's as simple as, you might have been held back in other aspects, but you weren't held back because of your skin. And I know personally white privilege is real, because like I said, I'm biracial, and I've had incidents where people might look at me a certain way or treat me a certain way, and then my mom walks into the room, or we're out at the store, and then my mom comes around and says, "Oh, the tune's changed." Like, okay. All right. She's all right. She's acceptable. And it's you're not being held back because of your skin color. And that's what white privilege is to me. And usually they say, well, what about affirmative action, or what about minority scholarships? Talk to your ancestors about that. See, I can't be approachable all the time.
I gotta laugh. No, Leah, read the definition, please.
Well, according to Wikipedia, it says inherent advantages possessed by a white person on the basis of their race in a society characterized by racial inequality and injustice. Is a definition
of white privilege. All right, so that sum up. We got Austin in the building.
Hey, Austin.
You know what I'm saying? And we're going to talk to Austin here in a little bit too. He organized a march over in South Point. So he was the head and the lead of that, organizing that too. So we'll get him up here and speak with him too as well. Systemic racism. We talked about white privilege. Is it the same, or does systemic racism? And y'all kind of knocked head with that with the white privilege. Does systemic racism give white people white privilege, or does it even exist? Is this just a term that we use as African Americans, as black people, to say? Is it a term that we use to handicap ourselves, to handicap our own growth in our own community? We say everything is because of the system. The man got me down. You know what I'm saying? So does it exist or does it not exist? And if it does, what is it to you?
I think systemic racism exists because a lot of the laws and policies that were put into place that are still standing today were enacted before we were considered people, before we were free. A lot of those same policies still exist in 2020, which is crazy. And also just thinking of like marijuana, for example, it's like a booming business now in certain states. And you have black people who are still sitting in cells.
Still serving time.
Serving time.
Preach, sister, preach.
Right. And then you might have, I've seen articles that they talk about white moms using marijuana as, their therapy and stuff like this. And, there's influencer brands and stuff on Instagram and different social media. And the story is changing on marijuana. And this is just one example. But the people that are still locked up, I mean, do we need to reduce their sentences? Can we reduce their sentences? Can we change for when this person gets picked up that he gets slapped with a citation, the black guy gets slapped with a citation instead of going to jail? Because the white man's going to get, not every time, the white guy is going to get slapped with a citation or might get let go. And I know that's not here in Kentucky or West Virginia, but like another state where medical marijuana is legal or recreational. It's just, there's still those little differences. That's the example that always comes into mind for me. And that's what I think of when it comes to systemic racism, is that those laws and those policies and those things are still discriminatory, and some are being changed and there's new laws and policies being made, but those other ones are still just sitting there affecting people of color.
What she said.
I was gonna say ditto.
You say ditto.
Ditto.
I think our system sucks. I mean, we just got to figure out how to change it or do something different, you know?
We have a black lawyer in our organization, by the way.
Yes.
She's going to change some things for sure.
Is she from around the area?
She's an
Yes.
Ashland native.
She's an Ashland native.
Oh, really?
We have a
Marie Troxler. She's a
okay, part of the Troy tribe and all the tribes.
I was wondering
Right.
if she's related. Yeah.
Stuff from out of South Point or somewhere like that. But she's from over there.
yeah, she went to Louisville and then she went to law school at University of Alabama.
All right, give it up for her.
Shout out to Marie.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. Okay. Other than that, and we're gonna let Austin slide in and you can speak with him a little bit too, and see why he organized his march and why he decided it was a need for him to put the march together and everything. But just closing out with y'all a little bit. Not even closing out with y'all. I shouldn't have said that. The power of editing. But the voting. We want to talk about real quick about voting and what's going on with your voting, and what do you guys think about voting?
I've been voting since I could. The first time I could vote was in 2008 when we elected Obama. And I've been back and forth since then about whether I felt like it really mattered or not. I mean, I feel like, now it does matter, and there have been too many people that fought for the right for us to vote, and it's a legitimate way to express our voices and our opinions. So I always ask people, if you're not registered, get registered, vote. Don't just vote for local representatives, state representatives, things like that. And I think it's very interesting, but I'm not surprised that our current president is trying to do away with USPS, since this will most likely be a election where mail-in ballots will be utilized. So voter suppression is real. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. It's real, and they're trying to suppress a certain vote.
So you're saying get out and vote?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's important.
Chime in, please. You chime in, and then you
No
go ahead
vote, no
and chime
voice.
in and
Right.
talk to Austin. So let's please welcome and introduce.
Okay, Austin, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Marshall University student. I'm going on my second year. It's been going great there. I love that school. They're so supporting with their students, the faculty. I think it's a very good school to attend. I pretty much just watch the news, report news to my community to help better educate, because education is a very key, important element in creating change.
You're going to get the claps.
I'm always focusing on community work. How can I better the community? How can I make something better, change what's old and make something a new way? Just because it is what it is, as people say, we can change that.
Yeah.
It's not what it is. We can change what's wrong. We can change how people feel about other people by educating them on whatever it may be.
Okay. And I know you've played a big part in organizing the march and protests over in South Point. I think you've had a big part into the Grayson marches and protests. I've been watching some of your videos on Facebook Live. Tell us why it's been important for you to be a part of this, to organize this. What does it mean to you?
It's important to me because Black lives do matter, and it's something that we need to continue to say, because we need to continue to say Black lives matter, because people feel as if Black lives don't matter. That's the reason there is a hashtag Black Lives Mattering. And then the rebuttal to that would be all lives matter. And I think we should be saying more of an all lives should matter, because all lives clearly do not matter on American basis, basically. But I organized those demonstrations. I've been organizing demonstrations since probably the age of 16. I just feel like it's just something I need to continue doing, because change is great, and change is what keeps America great. And we need to continue to speak up on things because that's the only way we can change things is by speaking up and educating others about what's going on.
And I have to put a little plug in here because Austin's grandfather and my Uncle Henry was big on this, on equality and marching. And did he march with Dr. Did he get a chance
I'm
to
not
march
sure.
with
I'm
King
not sure.
or sometime? Okay, so there's a little family connection there. So he would be really proud of you for what you're doing because that was an important thing for him. But based off of what you've done with the marches and the protests and what you've seen, what are your hopes for? Like, what do you want to come from all this?
What I want to come from all this, what I want to come from all this is just having these uncomfortable conversations because it creates change. We need to continue to speak up on what's wrong to make it right. How do we know if we're continuing down the bad path if we don't speak up and say, hey, this is wrong? It's just spiraling down into the wrong direction. And it's something that it's not just a one-man job, it's an every American job. Everybody needs to speak up and say something when it's wrong. Speak up and say something. That's the number one way of changing things. It's not about changing opinions anymore because at a young age, of course, you go through these different cycles and you tend to look to your peers for information at one point. You tend to turn to family at one point and not accept anything they say. So you listen to your peers, and it's important because your friends are a major influencer on what you believe and what you think. And I just think conversations like this create change because it's not just talking about it at school, at church, or wherever. It's within your friend groups.
Sure.
It's all together.
Okay. All right. I thought you had something you wanted to say too. We've been pulling up some of the videos. Have you seen the body cam from the police of George Floyd?
I seen the one that was released about a week ago. I'm not sure about the new one that was.
Okay. What are your thoughts on what you've seen?
It just shows that he wasn't resisting arrest. It shows that automatically they pulled a weapon on him, and who else wouldn't be scared? And he's saying, please don't kill me, I'm pretty sure. Saying, please don't kill me. And just hearing those words and then seeing what's happened, it's just like people are really scared of police in America. And it's something that it's going to take more than a one-person job to fix. It's going to take reform on the police department. It's going to take reform within our communities. It's going to take reform within ourselves. Even things that we do on a normal basis, going back to stereotypes, to racial profiling, to discrimination, it's something that we all have to speak up and say, hey, that's wrong. Because we grow up in a society that we live in stereotypes and we live through them and we become them because that's all you know. And as I get older, you realize, hey, that's a racial stereotype. We shouldn't be saying that. But as you're growing up, you don't think anything's wrong until education comes in and you're like, hey, we shouldn't say that no more. So it's just something that's going to take everybody to, like I said, do to make change, just like mask in public, the coronavirus. It's going to take everybody to do.
So our question, and we was asking, these people are Ashland for Change. Did you mention the organization that you're with, or? I'm
not with anybody. I'm just with myself.
So you're just
trying to create change.
Trying to create change. So my thing was, what do you want to see happen past this point after we did the march and we asked them, what do you want to see happen? Do you want to see change? What was the purpose of you actually?
Well, I just want to see people talk about it, bring awareness to the issue of what's going on, and just say, hey, this is an issue. Like I said, just speaking up is the number one thing to do in changing and creating change. It's the number one. That's the only thing we can do is use our two most powerful weapons, which is our body and our voice. And you have to just, at these protests, it's time to take it back to how they protested back in the 60s of being very nonviolent. They hit you, don't hit them back. They scream at you, don't scream at them back. You have to show that you truly are the peaceful ones, because history will remember those images, those videos of what's going on. It's not going to matter about what Uncle Bob said on Facebook. It's going to matter about what those pictures show, and what those pictures will show, just like going back to Grace in Kentucky, them yelling out the N-word, of you see Confederate flags following the Black Lives Matter protest. And I asked them, what does the Confederate flag have to do with the Black Lives Matter protest? And they can't give me an answer. They just straight go to heritage. And I don't understand that. And it's something that I try to have an open mind with, because I'm a very open-minded person. And like I said, I go to Marshall University and I study broadcast journalism. So, of course, I have an open mind, and I have an open mind to everything. And it's just something that we need to work on changing everything. Just people speaking up and doing something about it.
Okay. Audra, Leah, whatever, y'all want to chime in and just have an open conversation, please speak, say what you need to say.
I just wanted to say, when I watched your videos, and this isn't for everyone, but I thought it was interesting to see. I mean, in my opinion, you came off as completely open-minded and almost neutral. And they would automatically get on the defense just because of the way you look, your skin color, your hair. They thought you were there to stir up trouble, and you said many times, I'm just here to document. I'm trying to get both sides of the story. I'm trying to facilitate conversation. And I just thought that was interesting, and I'm not surprised, but sometimes it feels like no matter how you approach certain people, they're not going to have that open mind. That doesn't mean I'm losing faith, and that's going to stop me from having conversations and things like that. But it's just one of those things that, like you said, time will tell. You'll see the pictures, you'll see the videos. You were being peaceful, and you were trying to gather information for your community, and some people were intimidated by that.
And see, in order to tell a story, you have to be involved in the story and go find the story and put yourself inside the story. And that's exactly what I was doing, because I wanted to show exactly how like people are treated, especially black people. I walked into that small country town. I walked in, and majority of them were white. And they automatically thought that I was affiliated with the Black Lives Matter protest because I was black, but really I was there with no affiliation with nothing, just documenting on both sides of the story of, hey, what's going on? Why are you here? Why is this tension here? What's going on? And just to feel them attack me, tell me they're going to take my camera away, tell me they're going to hit me, look at me differently. Like, people really treated me differently because they thought I was a threat because they heard Black Lives Matter, and they see what's projected to them. You're not seeing exactly, like, some people don't see black people every day. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
In the media that's portrayed, you see that out there, like, oh, another black person committed a crime. You see that, and that's what people turn to because that's their perception of black people, of what they've seen their whole life. They never actually came in encounter with a black person, went to school with a black person, lived with a black person. They don't know the culture. And it's something that, like I said, talking about is the only thing that's going to create change. And like I said, not changing opinions, but allowing perspective to somebody that hasn't witnessed or been through something like being black in America or being poor in America or with poverty. To understand poverty, you have to grow up in poverty. So like I tell people, so what you say to understand what it's like to be black in America, you have to be black in America. Because I'm so tired of, you hear these white people say, like, what I'll say. You hear these white people say, like, when I hear Black Lives Matter, it's saying my life don't matter. No, it's just saying Black Lives Matter too. And like going back in 2001 with the Twin Towers, we didn't say all buildings matter.
Right.
Our focus was on the Twin Towers and the danger that those towers were in, not all buildings. We didn't say all buildings mattered. So it's just, I think it's an issue of perception. I think to be honest, everybody believes Black Lives Matter. It's just they're getting the wrong perception of when they hear Black Lives Matter. Because I know a couple of people I've talked to, when I've explained them that Black Lives Matter isn't this, it's this, it's this, they'll be like, oh, well, I didn't know that. Or, well, I thought it was this. This is what I see in the media. This is what I see, what's shown to me. I'm like, but you need to understand, like, it's bigger than that. And
So speaking on that right there a little bit, perception, do you think that white privilege exists, or is it a perception of black people?
I think it does exist. It's something, and if you don't see that white privilege exists, then you probably have white privilege. And I think it's something that it's out there. It's always been out there, and it's always been about putting black people beneath the white working man, keep the white people on top. And that's what you have all this hate coming out from this Trump administration is you see he's greenlighting there's efforts of hate. You have neo-Nazis marching in the street in 2017. He's been their voice. He's rallied them up, and it's almost like it's an attack of having a black president for 8 years. And
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost certainly it is.
What did they call it? A white lash?
White lash.
Okay, so you do think systemic racism exists as well as white privilege?
Racism is embedded to everything we do in life, and like we're understanding that. You see the syrup, I can't think of the name. The syrup. You see that name being changed, and they've understand like this goes back to something like racially like divided, like it's bad, so we're changing it. You have companies coming out saying, hey, we're changing this. It's just all about learning like, hey, these norms that we've accepted for a long time, it's time for them to go. And I think my generation, Generation Z, is going to do a big part of doing that, because our generation isn't about just one voice. We've learned that all of us have a voice, and when we use them all together, people just don't understand the power you have until we're all together using the same voice, because we're all on the same page. We're growing up in a time where this is right, this is wrong. It's 2020. It's time to accept everything. Like, stop.
Yeah, I mean, so with that being said, Leah, Faith, Audra, anybody, Shank, anybody want to have a comment that you want to make? You got a question that you want to ask any of our guests today about their protesting or not? And that's fine if you don't. That's cool.
Well, I have a question. I've been sitting here being quiet the whole time because it's not my time.
Okay.
Do you really want me to?
If you really have something to say, I mean, you've been sitting there listening, and
I would like to ask y'all personally, how much do y'all really think that these peaceful protests do?
Okay. So it's
she like, let me get this. Let me take this one. She like, let me take this one.
Peaceful protest. I think it's more about creating. Well, it's more about giving a spotlight on the issue. A protest create a spotlight, and it gets a ball rolling. It gets a conversation rolling, and sometimes it goes to a national level. Sometimes it don't. But you start it off at a local level, and it goes to a national level. Next thing you know, it becomes a movement. Next thing you know, it's a law. Sure. So protests do work, and you have to see on our history, everything has been built on protests of Americans using their voice and body.
Okay. Somebody else want to go off of that?
All right, that's all right. You okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I still got my
Now, the
teeth.
way my insurance is set up.
I don't know. Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just going to say pretty much what he said, but also, after the protest, it's kind of like what we're doing. There has to be action afterwards in order to create change.
Yes. Okay.
So,
that's the part that I wanted to hear. Yeah. Action. I don't feel like the peaceful part. Say what you got to say first, and I'll comment.
That's what I had to say.
I just wanted to add that I think we all agreed that we were going to have one march, one protest, and that was it. After that, it's action.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was people in our group that were vocal about we're not going to go out here and just keep marching. We're not going to keep having protests. We need to bring change. That's why we said change. Ashland for change.
That's what I wanted to hear.
And we're working on it. Some stuff I can't speak on yet, but we're working on getting some stuff changed in the schools. There's already a training going on that I can't speak on that we weren't affiliated with, but we're going to build off that training in the future. It's an implicit bias training we want to bring in to the next level. It's something called CRE, Cultural Resource Education, that we want to bring in. There's like 7 different tenets. Yeah. It's probably expensive, and the superintendent probably won't support it, but we are going to work on it.
All right.
I'm glad he brought me in on that because honestly, I support everything y'all are doing. Like, I thought this was a beautiful podcast and everything, straight up. My whole thing as far as the whole peaceful protest, and Norm will tell you ahead of time, like, I have been standing up for us for a minute now against this whole, everything going on right now. Like, I have a big voice, so I've been standing up. And my whole thing is that with the peaceful protesting, I don't think a lot of it is really helping us anymore. I don't think so. And even if you look back, if we go back to the 60s, he brought up how in the 60s and everything, there was the peaceful protest. Martin Luther King actually sat there and said, I feel like I integrated my people into a burning house. The last two, please listen to the last 2 years of his life. Them speeches, them last 2 years, listen to him. He is talking about we shouldn't even buy products from these people anymore.
Yeah. But he started talking about. I would say he started talking about the economics of the state
It's
of
gonna
the
sound
economic
crazy,
stuff
but
of Black African Americans.
he became more like Malcolm X, and Malcolm X became more
Yeah.
like him.
They kind of
And then they both died. That's what really happened, for real, for real. If you want to think about it.
But Austin mentioned this. And he was talking about change, and he said a lot about change, and we continue to grow and continue to change. So we talk about those two great, you can call them philosophers, some people may call them prophets, whatever. As they grew in their movement, their mindsets had to change too, and they start seeing things differently. They started things they had to continue to adjust. You know what I'm saying? And not be content and settle. So it may seem like they were both going one toward the other and one toward the other.
The beautiful thing that he said that I
actually
really appreciate the most is that he said it's going to be documented that we were not the savages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You feel me? At the end of the day, we've been told that we're the savages, we're the criminals, we're the animals. But if you look at all of the videos, who was doing the real?
Right.
Who was hanging people? Who was doing all this beating? It wasn't us.
Right.
It was not us. If we talk about just history overall. So that right there, I feel you on that. But I'll be honest with you. I feel like, I don't know if I should even say this out loud, but I feel like.
Burn it down, is that what you're going to say?
Okay. Here's what I'm saying. When the George Floyd situation happened, and we had those riots, right? There was some play about the riots, but guess what happened? Change. Happened.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Those people actually got convicted because
they
got
was
tired of
burning.
us
Yes.
burning shit down.
Yes. I
We
agree.
kicking shit down. We burning shit down. We breaking glass. Oh, we got to do something to calm these people down.
I agree. I'm not burning
Okay.
anything. I'm not supporting that, but that's what happened.
I haven't burnt nothing down yet either. But what I'm telling you is that if I need to start burning some stuff down too, and if you need to start burning, if that's what's going to take real change, then hey, y'all tell me the first building to go to. I'm on that level now.
Well, we appreciate you, Shank, for your comments and your questions. Burn, baby, burn, baby,
Y'all
burn.
don't laugh like, yo, he says the real stuff to me.
Right.
Do y'all have anything to close out with that you want to promote, even if it's your organizations, some projects that you got coming up or anything? Please go ahead and let it be known. So I also want to say make sure that you continue to tune in to the BIZ, the biz.buzzsprout.com. You can listen to me there on that channel. Positive People Association is a community development organization right here in Huntington, West Virginia, where we promote theater arts and multimedia programming for at-risk youth and young adults as an intervention and prevention programming. But please tune in to the biz.buzzsprout.com to follow Normbeezy and Lady Tiger. You know what I'm saying? And then also we have other shows coming out, and I want to promote Shooting the Shit with Shank. Also, you can find him on buzzsprout.com under some things like that too. So with that being said, do y'all have anything that y'all want to shout?
You can find Ashland for Change on social media. If you just search for Ashland for Change on Facebook, we'll pop up. On Twitter, we are Ashland 4 Change. And then on Instagram, it's Ashland for Change, spell out FOR. It's all one long word. Anything you need to add?
You can follow me on my Miss Ashland page on Facebook.
There it is. That's Miss Ashland, y'all. Yeah.
And one more thing. I don't have all their names in front of me, but arrest the cops who murdered Breonna Taylor.
Word.
You was going to say that. You said you wanted to shout
Yeah,
out Breonna
shout
Taylor.
out,
You
yeah.
said you wanted to bring her up. Austin?
I just want to say I have a Facebook page that I keep people educated on very important stuff. If it's at a local level, a national level, I got it. And I just want to say to my haters that I'm young and I'm always going to be here. And I'm just getting started.
All right. All right.
All right, then.
And I want to say one more thing. I want to just encourage people, if you are, you want to do a protest, a peaceful protest, keep doing that. If you want to, create change, like, don't give up just because somebody ain't on your side. I mean, look at Austin. He's doing it by himself. So, just keep on doing it. Stay motivated, stay empowered, find people who are going to lift you up and continue to empower you and who's with you on your side to help create that change.
That's real big.
Good stuff.
I just thought of one more thing. That's it.
Oh, go ahead with it. Go ahead with
If
it.
you do want to organize a demonstration, a protest, and you aren't black, do it. But consult people that are black. Consult people of color.
Okay.
Consult brown people. Make sure they are involved because
Get out and
the
vote.
issues affect them.
Yes.
They affect
Rock the
them.
boat.
That you need their perspective, or it's just going to be empty.
Yo, listen. I know we can do this again. Hopefully, we'll invite y'all back to come out.
Yes,
I just definitely want to thank our guest today, Audra Thomas, Faith Fountain. I didn't get Austin's last
Austin
name.
Johnson.
Austin Johnson. We want to definitely thank you guys for showing up. Our guest audience in the crowd out there. We want to thank you all. We plan to do this again. Make sure you tune in again to the biz.buzzsprout.com. All I can say is you can find us on Facebook under Positive People Association. But peace, love, and happiness. Soul Train. No. Nah, thank you guys for real. I really do appreciate
Great
you guys
conversation.
coming out, man. You know what I'm saying? We really do. So,